There is just one Aretha Franklin, the amazing Aretha Franklin, as you know, throughout the entire month of February, honoring Black History Month here at the radio station. We have honored Black musicians, Black artists, and really, as I have stated often, we shouldn't just dedicate one single month to it. It should be a year-round honor. And singing right along to Aretha just now, over to my right, Rebecca Washington Lindsay, setting something up for us this coming Friday at the Laguna Art Museum for Black History Month. We welcome to the program Rebecca Washington Lindsay. You brought a very special guest. We will discuss and introduce her in just a moment, but good morning to you.
Good morning, Ed. So glad to be here. Thank you so much for having us as guests.
So glad to have you here. I need to just ask you this just to start us off.
Sure.
Hearing Aretha sing, tell me where that takes you.
Way back to the 70s, and I remember wanting to sing like her. You know, she had her background was church.
Right.
She came out of the
gospel
church.
singer.
Yes. And so we got to hear the African gospel singers over at the little church yesterday, and they're going to be on the program.
Oh,
but I sang gospel at the pageant.
Okay.
Yes, I was a gospel singer that asked me to come in and do a gospel piece, and we sang some gospel pieces. But Aretha, she will never be replaced.
There's nothing like her
No.
in the whole world.
No.
Even though Angela, as we have a listener that walks by every morning, Angela
yes.
who says that you sing in a
I
group
do.
with her,
Laguna Tunes.
and who compared you to Aretha as she was standing right here. I'm like, okay. So
Thank you, Angela.
that's a high praise right there. I might have you.
I don't know if I can raise the occasion, but I love it. I love singing.
I might have
That's
you
my
belt
thing.
something out for us here before we go.
All right.
All right, you brought along an amazingly talented artist who uses vibrant colors and incredible imagination in her art. Toni Danchik is with us. Good morning, Toni. How are you?
Good morning, Ed. I'm really well, thank you.
Good. It's wonderful to see you. Thank you for being here. Are you a morning bird?
Not quite, but this morning I am. I'm trying to be.
Okay. So the event takes place this coming Friday at Laguna Art Museum.
Yes.
Tell us exactly what's involved.
All right, so I'll start you off. This is going to be an incredible, must not miss event.
Okay.
This is my fifth year, actually, Ed. Fifth year.
Okay.
It's been some bumps and bruises. You know how that is when you're doing something new in any community, in any place, or in any text. But so this year we're doing art, or we're featuring art. Last year it was music and dance, and I did a one-act woman stage of from slavery to now.
Wow.
And had the outfit on and the text on. It was just beautiful. It was wonderful. Standing room only.
Okay.
I might say that the museum eventually had to close the doors and say, we can't take any more. We can't take any more people.
Not even through the back door.
No.
All right. Okay.
It was upstairs, downstairs, wall to wall people.
Good.
So this year we're in a larger space.
Okay.
We have two spaces, and they've graciously given us a smaller room for social, and then the larger room is for the program. But anyway, so on that program we have music from the Laguna Tunes Community Chorus. It's been around 15 years, 16
At
years,
least,
something like
yes,
that. And under the direction of Gunn, Bob Gunn. And then we have the Laguna Beach High School Jazz Band under the direction of Steve Wade. Exciting.
Absolutely talented kids.
Very.
Absolutely talented.
Very.
Yeah.
And last year they were on, and I said, okay, you can leave if you want. And they stayed.
Right.
They didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And actually one of them read a poem. So we did poetry music last year. But anyway, this year we have them. And then we have dancers who are actually from Africa. And they are going to sing and do a dance. One of the performances, so they're going to sing 2 numbers or 3 numbers and do a dance as well, African dance. And then we have our social hour from 5 to 6. We have speakers such as Toni, who is from South Africa. She's going to do the African art with us. Very dynamic. And if you've never been to Africa, now is an opportunity for our Lagunians to come to Africa, and you don't even need a passport.
You can just take the trolley
You
there.
just take the trolley or the bus or walk. Just get there. You don't want to miss it because we don't
Thank
know
you.
when this will happen again.
Thank you.
But and then we have African American art on the flip side.
Okay.
We have Kari, who is going to do that, and she is a professional art teacher
Okay.
at Champion. So we're just having a we'll have
It's
a
a
good
full
time.
program, and it should be
It's
a
a
great
full
evening.
program.
I'll turn around and come back to that in a moment. Let
Okay.
me talk to Toni for a moment. South African born. I am and I imagine that you were very, very young during apartheid. What inspires your art?
You know, I think what inspires my art is the stories of just human dignity and just the moment. I always look for the treasure in a person and try and draw that out in my paintings.
Right.
And I think from a very young age, just traveling in the countryside and even visiting my dad when he was working in construction, doing water purification in the homelands, I would always watch women walk for miles with
Water.
Either
Right.
water cans on their heads or firewood, baby on the back, and sometimes even shopping bags in their hands, and often barefoot, cross terrain. And I didn't always understand the why, but I was just always taken by their resilience, their tenacity, and just how amazing these women are and what they do to keep their families together and to care for their families. And so I was just always taken by the stories.
We have, on several occasions, have had a group here called Walking for Water, and what they do is they build wells for exactly that scenario, because there are still places in Africa where you have to walk 7, 8, 9 miles, and it's the women that do that just to get water, just to
Yes.
get water and bring it back to the families. And I'll ask you a question directly off the Text Connect from a listener in North Carolina right now. Growing up a white person in South Africa, and I imagine that you were very, very young during apartheid and the change in 1990, between 90 and 94. The sense of privilege that you felt, you didn't seem to keep that in the art. The art, you ground yourself in people's struggles.
Right. Well, it's interesting because, you know, as a child, obviously growing up under apartheid, we didn't understand.
Right.
We didn't understand the context. So in my early 20s, I went to a English university because I grew up in an Afrikaans high school, which was very much Dutch reformed and white.
Right.
So you didn't think much because there were the black schools where the black children went to, and then there were the white schools where the white children went to. And as a child, you don't question that. But then I came to university, and it was multicultural. And for the first time, I interacted with all the cultures, and it was quite an education for me.
Was it enlightening?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
okay.
was.
Okay.
It was, and then in my early years, I became a Christian, and I went to a church who was the first multiracial church in the country.
Okay.
And for the first time, I was able to worship together with all cultures. And my ear became attuned to the sound of African worship and the beat, and it touched my soul. But yet, I didn't quite understand the full dynamic of that. And then later years, I worked as a personal assistant for a man who he had a advertising company, a marketing company,
Right.
and the National Party was his account. And the National Party at that time was the ruling party in South Africa.
Right.
So he came up with the concept of a transitional government and the new South Africa. And so my heart was groomed in wanting to do something to make a difference.
Right.
But I also knew I was an artist. And so I had this heart for Africa and wanting to see change and wanting to help people. But then I also had this call in my heart to be an artist.
Right.
And so I just, in those early years, I kind of thought that maybe I'm schizophrenic because I had these two passions. So which one is it going to be?
Right.
You know? And even after moving to the United States, I thought, well, how is this going to ever come together?
Right.
But it was during that time then that my friend, my best friend from South Africa, by now Mandela was president, and the curtains lifted and white people were able to go into what we call the townships and became aware of the devastation that was going on there. And at that point, it was in the height of the whole AIDS pandemic,
Right.
and a lot of people were dying, and children were living on landfills to just survive. You know, a lot of kids were found on the side of their mommies. You know, mommy's been dead for
Right.
weeks, and you know they're just trying to survive on their own. And it was a devastation. And my friend said, instead of saying, you know, what is the government doing?
Right.
She said, what are we doing? And they had a home in a beautiful middle-class neighborhood, and they opened their home and brought in 16 children. And at that time, it was still kind of new for black people to live in white neighborhoods.
Right.
So when 16 strollers went down the street with black babies in, the neighbors quickly got worried, and they said, we better find out what's going on here. But soon they fell in love with the children, and they fell in love with the model, because their heart was to give these children the best that they would want their own kids to have. Anyway, a long story short, that was the impetus of our involvement in the beginning that kept bringing us back to South Africa. And later years, I asked myself, well, what can I do as an artist? And so I thought, well, if I can paint these stories, that will open the door for me to become a voice to those who don't have a voice. Those who, their stories need to be told. I don't understand, I don't have the answers, I'm not an expert. All I can do is tell their stories, and
You tell them beautifully through your work. You really do. And thank you for sharing that moment with us. Thank you for sharing that. That's huge. And I think my follow-up question to that is, I've read what you experienced when you would lay your eyes upon a baby or a child that had been suffering from HIV and AIDS. And yes, it was an incredibly horrific pandemic then. Sometimes an artist does their best work out of darkness, from a place of darkness. Yet your art doesn't seem dark.
no.
Where do you find the light in darkness?
Good question.
You know, I always look for the treasure in every situation. And that's what I seek. That's what I seek. I don't want to paint doom and gloom. I want to paint hope. I want to paint the beauty. I want to paint that a little bit can go a long way. And even with my involvement with Wells of Life, you referenced the Walk for Water,
Right.
which is coming up.
Right.
My heart is always, if I can uplift people and elevate people into a place of dignity, that's what people want. People don't want to get the story is devastating, but there's always hope, and that's what I want to paint.
You see the light at the end of the tunnel in
Yes.
every situation.
Yes.
Your move to the United States, when and why?
That is a good story. It's a long story, and maybe for another time. But the short version of it is I came on a blind date, met my husband.
Okay. Wow, that's a long way to come for a blind date. I'll tell you that right now.
That's true. I always tell people, though, that he was pre-approved because two of my best friends' husbands met him before I met him, and came home with a good report and said, he's the one.
Okay.
So I thought, well, let me go and check it out for myself. And 2.5 weeks later, he proposed.
Oh.
And 3 months later, we were married. And that was almost 30 years ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And have you traveled back to South Africa?
Yes, because of my involvement with Acres of Love, I've been able to go back either through hosting trips or just going back to visit some of the children that we support. And so that brings us back. Some years it was twice a year, other years it was like once every other year. Although the last time I was back there, I just got back now, but prior to that was 2019, just before COVID. So this was the longest stretch that I had not been back. But I told my husband the first time I took him, I said to him, I want to warn you, when you go to Africa, it gets under your skin. And you'll spend the rest of your life looking for reasons to go back. And it's so true. Even now, we just got back and we're already trying to think, how can we plan another trip to go back? And this time I want to take artists back with me. Previous trips was always donors or potential donors to come and see the work. But this time I want to take artists to come and paint the beauty of the country.
Do you already have certain artists in mind that would...
I have a few.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's time and money.
Right. The continent of Africa is huge,
Yes.
and much like all continents, very varied in economy and culture. Do you travel the rest of Africa?
I have not had the opportunity to travel the rest of Africa. I think I'm torn between two lovers, really, because we have kids in northern Iraq that live there and do humanitarian work, and in South Africa. And so when we have a choice to travel, it's like, do we go there and visit them, or do we go to South Africa? And, during apartheid years, as white South Africans, we weren't allowed to travel. So I've been to Mozambique, and I've been to what was known as Rhodesia at the time.
Right.
But, when I have an opportunity, I just want to go back to South Africa. But it is in my heart to go to Uganda because I'm so involved with Wells of Life and being a spokesperson for them, and to go and see the work firsthand, although I get so many reports back that I feel in my heart that I've been there,
Right. Well, Wells for Life does wonderful work, and thank you for being involved with that.
Thank you.
The decision to be an artist, you gave us that 50-50 choice. I'm straddling two worlds. The decision to be an artist, was it met with support from the family, or was it met with, you're never going to make it, there's no money in it, you'll starve? Where was the family in that decision?
I don't know if that was even their decision to make. I grew up in a creative family, so I had a cousin. My one cousin was a professor of art at one of the local universities. Another cousin, he was actually instrumental in me getting into the art program at Wits University. He was an artist, dancer, and opera singer as well. And I have a lot of music in my family. I mean, family gatherings was always around making music and creating art. It was just what we did. And so I just thought that's what everybody does. We were definitely not sports focused. So sports to me,
no rugby game, no rugby teams for you. No,
I had no interest in it, But it was just always around creating art. And so when I left high school, I had a choice: do I go to teachers training college or do I go and study art? And I'm like, I'm gonna go do art.
And this coming Friday, when people attend the Laguna Art Museum's event, which particular pieces of yours are we going to be paying attention to? And making that decision is like picking between your children. You know, this one goes up, this one stays home.
Right.
How did you do that, and what will we be seeing?
So, because of my body of work and the aesthetics of the museum, we weren't able to install paintings on the walls. So we're going to do a slideshow. And I will have a narrative that's going to go with the slideshow, and the slideshow will be of my paintings. And it's going to straddle stories of life in South Africa and my connection to Acres of Love, and then also life in Uganda, life around the water well that honors wells of life. And I'm hoping to have one painting of a woman walking with a beautiful yellow dress. It's called Lady in Yellow, and she has firewood on her head, and she's just walking in the field with so much grace, so much poise, so much resilience. And again, I just saw her life and I saw her story through the reference photo that I was given. And I think that's the painting that I would like to end with, because for me, again, it's the story of just the resilience of women in Africa.
You have a beautiful lady in yellow to your left here. Our audience can't see her, but Rebecca Washington Lindsay is wearing an absolutely magnificent outfit of yellow.
It wakes everybody up.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. And just a moment about the painting itself, the last work of art that you mentioned. The nuance of the beauty behind in the face, the nuance in the face, the emotion in the face, is that what captures you first?
Sometimes it's the whole story. Sometimes it's just the poise or the shape or the rhythm in the painting. But a lot of times it is the story,
Okay.
the heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rebecca, share with our audience once again what they can expect this coming Friday night.
A memorable experience.
Okay.
They will not be disappointed,
Okay.
and they will leave with new information, if nothing else, about South Africa and the artist Toni and her beautiful works, and African American artists and their beautiful works. They will not be disappointed. It's one of a kind event, a program for us here in Laguna, something new, not been done before, and I am so excited. Toni is excited as well. It's taken a year to pull it together.
It will be well worth it, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, it will.
What time do doors open up?
So this year, I'm so thankful for the museum. Hats off to them. Thank you so much, museum and staff. They are going to open the doors at 5, and we're going to have a special occasion.
Okay.
So they need to be there at 5, from 5 to 6, and there will be entertainers in the social part. The program will move to another location in the museum, and it will start at 6. So please be there. We want everyone there.
We look forward to seeing you then. I am thankful that you came by today. Thank you so very much for this conversation.
We're so grateful to you, Ed.
We wish you the absolute best moving forward. And let's do this again, please.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we will do it
Thank you.
again. It's last year we didn't get to do it, but this year is phenomenal.
Okay.
we did it.
Rebecca Washington Lindsay, Toni Danchik, thank you both very much
Thank
for being here.
Thank you so much.
8:25, that's the Artist Corner. It's the Mornings with Ed show, and it's the all-new Voice of Laguna.